Hello, this is the tutorial on how I made the Heavenly Trials. So I'll be going over the decoration, how I made that, the camera effects and movements, how all the different how all the different rooms were made, and the Lucifer's text and the speech that he does, and also how I turned platformer into just normal classic mode. So for the very start, the ground, you actually stand on the ground here, but the ground is invisible, so I placed the trigger before the level. And to make the camera sort of focus on the gate to tell you what you're supposed to do, I just use some static triggers. It's pretty simple, and there's an invisible object that it gets focused on. And yeah, when you get the key, there's a bunch of stuff that forces you into the orb, and if I pause it, it switches out the two gates. So here's the locked gate that it's put down here, and it's switched out the unlocked gate, which if I unpause, which is above here, so it just switches them out. And it teleports you into the lobby. Now for the tutorial on how I actually make all the rooms. So what I did was I got guide triggers, and I only needed one static trigger actually. There's this one down here that focuses it automatically onto here, and it's sort of it just moves around. So say I had myself a camera guide, let's just put it all the way up here, and I built myself a nice little room around it that I wanted to make some platformer gameplay in. So I'll just build my little room. And there. So the green box on the guide trigger tells you what the minimum aspect ratio can see. So like the very lowest one. And then the orange one is your aspect ratio. And I need to be mindful that unless you're playing on a really wide screen on mobile or something, this isn't the widest aspect ratio, the orange one. Sometimes it can get out to here, so it varies depending on what device you're on. I'm on a computer, so it's different for me. But I have my thing here, so in the lobby I usually use star objects, I don't know why, but I set it to a group, so we'll have group 62. And as we come into this trial, you step on a static trigger, you touch a static trigger that focuses you on group 62, and you've got to make sure you have it following. The easing doesn't really matter too much, nor does this. You don't have to have any of these on. You have to have that on, but not these. And just make sure you haven't got either of these ticked. You don't need that. And the duration is just how long it takes for it to focus on it. And easing is how the camera gets eased as it moves when it follows it. Now make sure it's set to a touch trigger as you walk into the trial, into the room. And since my camera is set at 1.0, just if you've already zoomed it out, that's okay. You can just place a zoom trigger here that also is on the same spot and has a similar time. And if I put a start pause down, there, we've got the room focused. And this is exactly the type of technique that I've used to make the Heavenly Trials. Like, this is what the layout looked like. And it still exists there. Like, if I highlight it, it's still there. See? I've just made it invisible, which, to make stuff invisible but still have hitboxes. So, see how these have hitboxes? You can highlight them, and I can go extra, and you just press hide, and it makes them invisible, but they still exist there. Anyways, back to this. So I have this trial, but how do I move it so it goes to the next one? Well, I grab this trial, just grab everything, and I will copy and paste it this way. Get rid of these, because we don't need them, and get rid of this as well, because that'll break it. And we sort of just have this like that. Oh, there's one block more difference. And look, it's starting to look a lot like the trials down here now. So, we need to figure out the distance that it needs to move to get to the next guide trigger, because the guide triggers are in the center of where it needs to be. So you just go use your W, A, S, and D keys to move it. So it's 20 blocks, which would correlate to moving it by 200 on a move trigger. So, get move trigger, and you move the X by 200, which is 20, because each block, one block equals 10 of these. So if I want to move by one block, it would be 10. 2 blocks would be 20, and so on. So since it's 20 blocks, it's 200. You just multiply what you need by 10. And the move time, you just set it to whatever you want or whatever you need, because it'll follow. Now I recommend that you use easing, but you don't have to, because easing just makes it sort of more smooth movement. And you would set the target group ID to, well, whatever yours is, but for me it's 62, because that's what group the star is. And now, if I make sure to make this a touch trigger, and I put it right here, and I go into the next room, it moves. And you can do that as many times as you need, but eventually you will get to like an elevator, because if you're making it have floors like mine does, and you want to make the elevator, it gets a little bit trickier, but it's not too bad. So you just get the last room and sort of put some holes in the floor and the roof. Then you grab it and you just put it up here. And you just... That wasn't necessary. So now you have the elevator shaft, and you just seal up what parts you don't need to be open, because you don't want them escaping the level, because that's bad. But I now have this, but how do I get the camera to actually move up there? Well, I'm not even gonna grab the original, because I can just place a different one, which I don't need. I'll get rid of this once I'm done counting, because it'll move like that, and then when you go up there, it'll move up to there. So it's 16 blocks up. So you want to get another move trigger, and instead of using the x-axis, because that is left and right, because negative x is left and positive x is right, you use y, and positive y is up and negative y is down. So we're moving it up by 16 blocks, which is 160 of these. And since it's a longer distance, we probably want to make it take slightly longer. And make sure that the hitbox of the move trigger is able to be touched by the player, because we don't want them to be able to miss it, because that would not be good. And also, just as a heads up, don't make it multi-trigger, because then because if you make it multi-trigger, they can just do this. Which we don't want. So yeah, make sure the multi-trigger isn't on for these. And move them. And to get up to the next room, you can do whatever you want, but since it's blind at some parts, you just put a dash orb and put some S blocks up here to stop the dash orb. And to make it so that they don't fall back down, you get one of your blocks and you go edit group, extra, passable, which makes them be able to go through the bottom of it, but then they can't go back through the top. And I would recommend also putting a checkpoint at the start of every single room, usually somewhere in sight, like this. And for making it go left instead, you just put a minus in front of the 200, and you have everything that you need to make the rooms. So it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. And I'm quite proud of the fact I figured this out all on my own. Alright, so now moving on, I'm gonna teach you how I made Lucifer's text, like the speech that he has, and the Demon Funk ending where it turns you into classic mode instead of platformer, which both took me a long amount of time to figure out. So with Lucifer's room, when you get here, it stops you and it takes you down on an elevator, and these force blocks sort of force you into the center, and you'll see it's all invisible, but there are these skull objects that every time you click a toggle orb, it moves one of them up, as well as also moving the text up. And when you collect a certain amount of these skull objects, which is how many these are and how many text objects there are, it teleports you to this ending. And as you move, it moves the text upwards, and there are two giant black boxes here that hide the rest of it, so you only see what you're supposed to. And then it also moves up the skulls. Anyways, once you go through all of the text and collect every single skull, it teleports you here, which these triggers here give you what effects you're supposed to have and get rid of the static. And to make this ending, there's a checkpoint here just in case you die, because that would be so sad, having to sit through Lucifer's boring dialogue again. It fixes your camera and it pushes you like this. So I set the force block to about exactly the force that you'd need to push the player where they're supposed to go. And like, a thing to stop you from going completely forward is there's a wall that will follow your every move. And it sort of blocks you from jumping if you're up against it, which will kill you. So you sort of just have to, as soon as you hit here, you have to sort of let go and just let it take you. and that's the ending for that. So for the force block, I just had it at 1.0, which pretty simple. And you want this to be move. You just want to, like, I don't know how I made it move at the same speed as the player. I just kept like trial and error, just testing it until I got it to the right speed. So might take a while, but it's definitely worth it. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. If you want to know anything else about other levels I've made, like how I make some other stuff, leave a comment and subscribe, or if you're watching this on anything else, follow me. And bye bye.